Hi, Orlando. Thank you for joining us today to discuss your latest animated short film, Monster Island. The visuals are really nice. How did you get AI to produce that? Did you do a traditional storyboard, or what was the process like? Can you walk us through that?
A great question. I did this new script with 200 pages. I transform in 6 minutes to show the macro A. And I use approximately 14 kind of tools to do Monster Island. I did a lot of drawings. I start to draw every kind of this scenario. After this, I deliver to the AI to refine everything that I did. And after this, I start to use three apps to make an animation. Runaway, I use Klein, I use Pika to start to develop the animation. I use Leonardo to do some kind of the illustrations and the landscape that I need. And the rest, I did everything with using the Final Cut to edit it. The script, in addition, the sound, it was organic. And the rest, it was AI. I think this movie is basically 90% AI. It was amazing. I was thinking about this production because to do an animation like this 5 years ago, it would be very expensive. I did Monster Island just by myself. I think I spent around 8 months to do the short like this. But with all these tools, all the softwares, I could develop a Monster Island in 2 months.
The myth of the Bermuda Triangle is central to the story. Do you think audience, particularly those unfamiliar with this myth, may have connected to the theme? And I want to ask you, when are you planning to turn this into a feature film?
Yes, it's a good question because when I did the project, by the way, there is more. I have 2 more shorts about Monster Island. So I did this project and I start to think, if I get, for example, 3 or 5 nominations and 1 good prize award, I think it could be a good leverage for me to get, investors, this kind of thing. So I had 30 nominations all over the world, and I get 9 awards. It was really good for me because Bermuda Triangles, the ship that take our heroes from another dimension, an island full of monsters, primitive civilizations, a racing car full of dangers. So when I start to show this stuff and this kind of award, the attention that I had 2 proposals of distributors in California, and I get one investor in this moment to start this movie theaters. It will be around 90 minutes. And answer your question about the Bermudas as well. So I think Bermuda Triangles, I think there is a lot of stories around this places. I would like to play with this story because everything in my story around the Bermuda Triangle, Zoryki is the guy behind the Bermuda Triangle. So I think it can be work.
Orlando, it's been a pleasure talking to you today.
My pleasure.
Thomas now has questions for you. Thomas, take it away.
Hi, Orlando. I wanted to ask you, you had mentioned that you had already started the feature or shooting the feature?
Yes, I have one more that I finished called Chronicles of Francine, one of the characters of the Monster Island, by the way. And I had another one talking about the Monster Island, right? I need more, I think, 2 months to finish this. Another short that will be specific about Nick. And I start to work in another shorts about Flok as well. So because I'm doing this because it's easier to show to investors. He saw the Bible pitch, but he started to see on screen about this universe a little bit easier to get the attention of the investors. So I continue working. I take every single day 2 hours of my time to continue working in Monster Island.
Oh, so you spend 2 hours a day on a Monster Island? Is that what you said?
2 hours per day, yes, working on Monster Island. Because at this moment, like I said before, I had 2 proposals of this distribution or worldwide. So I'm working on a new storyboard now. I had an apartment in Dubai that we're gonna make the production. I hope that in the more 6 months, I would put all this stuff, advertisement, animation with my business partner, and I would like to focus just on the Monster Island.
So those 2 hours, does that count just the production of the film, or do you count writing towards those 2 hours as well?
Just production, because like I said before, I had around 200 pages of the story, more 50 pages about the other ideas about this universe. First, we working to transform this 200 pages and 90 pages in 1 hour and a half. So it has been complicated to me. I'm working with another writer. He's a great writer, by the way. He worked in a Disney and a Netflix stuff. He helped me a lot with this job as well. So, but I take always every single day, even Sunday, Monday, it doesn't matter. I work 2 hours in a Monster Island.
Wow, it's almost like you put yourself on a physical activity. So
Yes, sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes easier said than done. But I'm doing every single day 2 hours, doing develop characters, polishing the script, doing new animations. I have, for example, a partner in this moment. He's in China showing the Monster Island as well. So for the toys factories, this kind of thing. So it's just a lot of work. But I'm happy.
The heart of the Monster Island is the storytelling. It's a very rich story. And when I saw it for the first time, I was like, man, this is absolutely a larger story than 6 minutes. So it was not a surprise to hear me say that you are actively pursuing a feature film. Do you like storytelling? And did you say earlier that you write books too?
No. Like I said, Monster Island, I start to write. I didn't stop anymore. When I wrote the story, I start to think in a book, because I wrote the story in 2005, 20 years ago, so I started to continue developing the story. So I had constant thinking about this, because I'm not a writer, I'm a producer, but I studied a lot about writer, this kind of thing. So I started to think that could be a book, but I'm a producer with a specialty in advertisement animation. 2 years ago, I started to learn, to study a lot about AI. When I get a lot of knowledge, I think I can do this story using AI. So there you go.
Now, you had mentioned earlier that there are limitations to AI. As someone who has never really done a film using AI, can you talk about what those limitations are for you?
Yes, and interesting question, because when you start to work on a production, within a traditional animation or a production specific, you can imagine everything, but you can do, for example, I do a live action, I put the camera, I can say for the actor, I do this, do that. It's easier to make the direction of the actor, because I did a lot of times this doing advertisement. You can direct the way that you think, the reason with storyboard, story, you can do this. The limitation, the live action and animation, traditional animation, basically is the budget. But in an AI, you can do a lot of things, but you need to adapt what you think with the tools that you have, because we have a lot of limitations. I cannot say, for example, for Dr. Frank, I would like that you interacted this way, I would like more emphasis this. You need to make a lot of kind of prompts to do this, or you change the illustration as well. So there is a lot of ways to, but the result is a little bit random. It's not precisely. But I can tell you this, the way that the things is going this moment, I think the next, 3 years max, we're gonna make almost the same thing in the AI and the live action or the traditional animation. But in this moment, I have some kind of limitations, like I said here.
I'm going to hand it off to our moderator for some audience questions.
Thank you so much, Jana and Thomas, for those great questions. Orlando, I want to know if it's okay if we ask you a few questions about your producer history. Would that be okay?
For sure.
Perfect. So we do know that you started out in Brazil as a producer, and you actually wound up working on a children's series. Is that correct?
Yes. It was a TV show called, in English, would be like 1, 2, 3 and Opposite Time. Yes.
And one of the things that we know here in the US is when producers work on children's shows, it makes them a little crazy, because there's a lot of money that's poured into children's shows, because there's a lot of advertisers, and a lot of money is actually made with children's shows. And I want to know if you could tell us a little bit about your work on that show. Were there times when you were asked to compromise just because the sponsor wanted to sell something? Or was this a nice, easy breezy children's show that would have been lovely to work on?
Every single production, you have some kind of challenges, This is the deal. To raise the capital to do the movie, I think, is the first step. This is not easy. But to work with a specific production like it for kids, it's a little bit easier. Let me try explain why. When you finish the movie, I'm not talking about the blockbuster, okay? I'm talking about the average movies. You do the movie, you can make a distribution with the movie theaters and the streaming and the TV, this kind of thing. It's not easy to get the money back, to get your break even. But in the kids content that I did, it's a little bit easier, like I said before, because you can create a licensed product to sell these products to continue your production. I really like to produce content for kids, not just because it's a very good to sell products, but I really love this kind of content. I really love this Chuck Jones stuff, Hanna-Barbera, old school Disney. I really love this kind of universe. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and then he said for me, "Oh, Orlando, you like animation, right?" And I said, "No, I don't like animation. I love animation. This is a great passion for me." So work with the production, the TV shows for kids or the movie, I think is a little bit easier because we have a lot of kind of the ways to raise capital to the budget, and after the launch of the movie we can sell a lot of products to get the break even and maybe make some kind of profits to continue producing. Because if you want to work in the show business, you need to understand something. You need to understand what the money works, because if you don't have a business, you don't have show. If you don't have show, you don't have business. You need to work with these two things together to do your production.
Absolutely. Those two things have to work in concert. Wow, you
Yes.
do sound like a producer. You need to teach
Thank you.
a little business course on how to produce. Yeah, you definitely sound like a producer. Question from the audience. What Brazilian filmmakers have significantly influenced your work?
Today, José Padilha. José Padilha, I think, in this moment, he's the best director that we have, not just in Brazil, but all over the world. José Padilha, he's a special director, no-brainer. There is another director, Carlos Saldanha, as well. Talking about the animation, Carlos Saldanha,
Yes.
This guy is off the chart. This guy is amazing.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
He was
Yes.
the director at the Ice Age. This guy he's amazing. He's amazing. I did one course with this guy, and I encountered him once. It was a good conversation. I think of course, I think he don't remember me, but we had a good conversation. He's a great director.
In Monster Island, Dr. Frankenstein looks very familiar. Is he a compilation of some people? Is he you? Who is Dr.
It's me.
Frankenstein? Okay.
It's me, Dr. Frank is me. Yes. It was my photo. I start to change a little bit with AI, but Dr. Frank, it's me. I use Leonardo to change transform the version of the animation about my face, and I changed it. And when I saw that result, wow, it's pretty cool. I think I'm gonna use this. And I use another software to make the lip sync, this kind of thing. Today, I can do so much better than that. I had another short called Chronics of Francine. It's a continuation of the Monster Island. She talked using hands. Perfect. This is amazing today. There is another tool today that we can do so much better than I did, for example, 1 year ago.
We want to know, since the doctor is you in your film, are there other familial references in your film? For instance, the dog, the boy, the witch. Are these based on other family characters?
Each character has a little bit about me. Everyone. The dog, because I love dog, but he has a little bit about me because I like computer stuff, technology. I love this stuff. Don't Flok it. There is Francine, because she's a special character. I think Nick and Francine, the whole story move around these two characters. Basically 5. Dr. Frank, Zoryki, Francine, Nicky, and Flok. But Francine, Nickolas, they are the main characters. Nicky, I love Formula 1. I'm a great fan of Ayrton Senna and Nelson Piquet. Basically has a lot of Ayrton Senna and Nelson Piquet was my inspiration to make Nicky. Ojus Zoryki is a despicable, traditional, crazy, bad guy, but at the same time, he's funny. And the Dr. Frank, like I said before, basically, it's me.
Orlando, what have you learned about yourself through the making of this film?
You're doing great questions. I have a lot of patience, more than I thought. I have a lot of attention. That's learning about me. I think I didn't know this. When I finished the short, I realized this.